Crisis in Curriculum, The Testing Chronicles. A role-playing board game inspired by Dungeons & Dragons. I have here two volunteers, Mike and Esther, who are going to test the game. So here is the actual board. This is just a sample map. You don't necessarily have to have a map, but it's always great to have, especially for newer players, to have a map of a pretend school, pretend layout of a school. And right here, we have 3 different types of playable characters that one can play. An individual could play an exhausted teacher, and here are the character traits. A busy district official, an annoyed principal. Now to go into traits, because not everyone has the background of playing Dungeons & Dragons, I have definition of traits up here. So for example, the exhausted teacher has 3 X's by the intelligence. So intelligence means the teacher is able to have mental accuracy, ability to reason, and be able to recall information. Charisma is self-confidence, someone who is very personable, ability to interact with others. Investigation is ability to look for clues. And persuasion is the ability to influence someone or even a group of people. Ability to make requests. Now, these are traits, the beginning traits of each character. You can grow traits over time through investigating, gaining more knowledge, having more charisma and persuasion, the ability to persuade others. But you can have only up to 6. So once a character receives 6 in any of these single categories, then they are maxed out. Now here is how to play. I have directions right here. So first, I'm going to have you guys pick which character you would like to be. I'll let you go first,
I want to be
Esther.
annoyed principal.
All right, annoyed principal. There you go. And who would you like to be?
I'll be a busy district official.
A busy district official. Perfect. All right. And I will be an exhausted teacher. Now, in the game of Dungeons & Dragons, there is someone who is called the Dungeon Master. Think of the Dungeon Master as the person who creates and facilitates and guides the characters along. Now, in this case, in Crisis in Curriculum, the Testing Chronicles, it is referred to as the educational facilitator. So in this case, I will be the educational facilitator while occasionally playing an exhausted teacher. But I will help guide the story along for my players and also help guide them with the process of the story. Now, right here, there's no label here. This is an optional deck. So why I say optional deck is sometimes, especially with newer players and a newer educational facilitator, someone who may be new to facilitating a story, these are prompts to help. They're optional. They can help drive the conversation going, since the topic of this and whole theme of this overall game is standardized testing and assessments and quarterly benchmarks. How are we going to drive those conversations with each other? How are we going to come up with solutions to help our students succeed in the long run? Not only that, but for our educators, teachers, school district officials, principals, administration, to everyone feel successful, that there are no inequalities being made due to how our students perform on assessments. Now, over here to the right is a key. Now, the key is for this map. So, for example, you see there's a red dot. Let's look for the red dot. There's a couple of red dots right here. So, right here, and right here. Those are the classroom dungeons, or as we call it, the dungeon classrooms. These are optional areas that a player can decide to go and go on side quests. They're a little bit challenging, and so they're optional if a character happens to come near either of these dungeons. Then the little green star is the library. Orange circle is cafeteria on this one. The gray star is the big gym. And then the browns are the regular classrooms. In the center is the main hallway where characters can start out, explore, and even discuss and communicate with each other. So every player is going to need a 10-sided dice. So I'm going to give one to each of you. And that's all. You only need to have one dice. One 10-sided dice. This is what's great about this game, is it allows for you to be creative as much as you want, but still be able to have those serious discussions related to standardized assessment and benchmarks. So I'm going to go back to how to play. So after choosing a character, I just gave you guys a 10-sided dice. So let's roll, okay? So I'm going to have you guys roll. Whoever gets the highest number gets to go first. Okay, we have a 2 and a 3. So Mike, looks like you will go first, okay, when we actually begin the game. The educational facilitator will help drive the story. So as I mentioned earlier, in abbreviations of CCTTC, Crisis and Curriculum, the Testing Chronicles, will come with materials. So like this said, this is a sample map. You don't necessarily have to have one, but some of us are visual learners. Then when it's a player's turn, they can move up to 3 spaces or less. So it's kind of hard to see on this game, but this is, like I said, a visual. Players could have like little coins or dots, or the facilitator can help drive the game. There are, like I said, a few cards of sample prompts. I will read one for you, just as an example.
Don't you get a dice?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
So after doing math and receiving results from various schools within the district is based on state standardized assessments. Overall, the schools underperformed, and 80% of the student population tested as minimum proficient. This results in receiving a massive budget cuts across the entire district. Meanwhile, a neighboring smaller school district received an increase of funding due to the students across their district performing better. What are the initial steps that your district will take to address this issue? So these are just prompts that are optional that can be used to drive the conversation going among peers. And that's just an example of the rules and procedures. So now let's do some gameplay.